Canadians are fed up. Yep. Covered it yesterday. Faith in premiers is going through the absolute floor, except for Quebec. And I don't know what the fuck they're on about, but the rest of the country, once again, the western half at least, Ontario in with this because they're doing some good stuff as well, at least when it comes to distrusting the government. And there's a piece that came out from the National Post earlier today. That's just the headline in and of itself is quite accurate, but we don't just do headlines around here. We're going to take a look as well. Lockdown fatigue is giving way to protests and defiance across the country. Yes, we've seen the one, and I think that this is a picture, yes, from outside of Grace Life Church, the one that had the fencing put around it because they weren't following the rules. Even though that there's been no outbreaks there's been no super spreader events that have been linked to that. I don't know if super spreader event is still one of those descriptors that's in the public lexicon. I haven't heard it said by any of the experts in a very long time, but whatever, they are allowed to flip-flop. We have to tread a very fine line when it comes to disseminating information, but they can say is in the byline, we often hear it's a race against the variants, even though looking at the variants, it shows a very different picture. But I think it's also a race against complacency and rage. Very much so. Very much so. Protests breaking out in different parts of the country, and some businesses flatly refusing to follow COVID-19 health orders. Won't somebody please think of Grandma? Not you, Cuomo. Lockdown fatigue is giving way to lockdown rage more than a year into the pandemic. You should probably be able to figure out why just in that fucking sentence right there. It's been over a year, okay? Everybody's done with your 15 days, okay? Not 15 weeks. Not 15 months, not 15 years. We're done. Done with it. On Sunday, hundreds of people were outside of Grace Life Church. People were also out in Toronto. We seen that yesterday. And there was also a huge gathering in Montreal. And normally, I'm not one to support any kind of violence or any sort of burning or destruction in the streets, but to me that looks like public property, stuff that those people would have paid for if they paid taxes. So I don't know if I'm gonna shed a tear over that one, but don't burn stuff, don't riot. Riots are bad. Wink wink, nudge nudge. The evidence is everywhere in casual conversation with friends and family at a business defying public health orders, yay, such as Whistle Stop Cafe in Mere, Alberta. I think that's just outside of Edmonton, not too sure, which has refused to close despite visits from police and public health officials, or the hair salon in Barrie, Ontario, which also defied orders to close despite threats of fines. Yeah, fuck off. Because guess what? Yep. Keep fining, but if I don't open up these doors, guess what? There's going to be no money to collect because you won't be able to open up the doors when the health experts decide that you can open them up. Even in the corridor, when we reported on it, United Conservative Party members of the Alberta legislature spoke out against the most recent round of provincial restrictions in the very public airing of internal dissent among the 63 United Conservative Party MLAs. I'd imagine that there's just got to be more in that fucking cabinet. There was a couple of cabinet members in there as well, and then a bunch of other backbenchers, and also Tracy Allard from my hometown, Grand Prairie. She's not my MLA, I'm in a different district, but she was one of the ones who was very much in support of lockdowns until she went on a vacation over Christmas, and then came back and was like, no, lockdowns are dumb. I'm glad that she's seen the light. And the sun. Hopefully she had a great vacation. On Monday, Maxime Bernier, leader of the Fringe People's Party of Canada. It's regrettable that it's fringe, but it is an accurate description because they hold no seats in Parliament at the federal level. But that is apt to change, and do have news on that. But we're going to finish some of this article as well because it tries to tell you that these people are bad, but I think you can tell my tone and tenor, if not just in this video, but the rest of the channel echoes the same sentiment. So Maxime Bernier was down there addressing a crowd at the Alberta legislature in Edmonton where someone held up a Western Independence Party flag and protesters chant, "Lock her up," in reference to Dr. Dina Hinshaw. She's just a frail looking woman who's I don't know how much fucking power she has. She's Alberta's equivalent of Fauci, but I don't know, she just seems meek and not that important. I wouldn't necessarily lock her up. I don't know what the fuck she's done. She just kind of reports the numbers. Anyways, Bernier has been touring British Columbia and Alberta calling for an end to lockdowns. He has said the protest is an ideological revolution and railed against business closures, mask laws, curfews, and as yet non-existent vaccine passports. As of yet, we know that they're developing that kind of stuff. And we know what kind of form they're going to take because British tech firms are developing stuff, at least prototypes, for the UK government. We know that the Biden administration has at least toyed with the idea, even though they said that, no, we're not going to do vaccine passports. But Ron DeSantis and a couple other governors in the United States have also taken the opportunity to pass legislation to make sure that vaccine passports, at least in their state, aren't going to be a thing. But we know what kind of form they're going to take. They're going to be all digital. They're going to be on your phones, which is convenient because I don't have any tattoos, nor do I intend on getting any, and especially not for a vaccine passport. I, for one, am not a fan of camping. But speaking of digital, you got the Liberal Party of Canada. Talked about this a fair few amount of times, but Trudeau Liberals pushing for internet law that targets hurtful words against politicians. This is the act of a desperate party who does not want to give up their power. Gibault said, "We have seen too many examples of the public officials retreating from public service." Probably have a lot of time to come up with those cutting your own hair. Like, how else could you explain that fucking terrible mop? Justin Trudeau's heritage minister, yes, soon to be the minister for his truth and reconciliation division, has suggested that internet censors should attempt to ban mean words against politicians. Stephen Gibault often gets into trouble for speaking his mind about internet censorship, that he's very much in favor of. This time, however, he's vehemently argued for the kill switch when websites saying hurtful things. According to Blacklock's reporter, speaking about the matter on a podcast, Gibault said that we have seen too many examples of public officials retreating from public service due to hateful online content targeted towards themselves. As a dad and a stepdad to 6 kids, I know more can and should be done to create a safer online environment. Let me stop you there. Look after your own kids, okay? They shouldn't be on social media if they're a certain age. I shouldn't be speaking to anybody under the age of, well, some people would say 18 because I use fun words. But realistically, 10, 12, is that a good age for the internet? I would think so. Just because you're a shitty father or a shitty stepdad doesn't mean that everybody else is. It doesn't mean that you have to overreach. It doesn't mean that you have to send somebody from the government to make sure that the internet is 100% sanitary for criticism of your shitty policies. Despite the seemingly vast disapproval that Canadians have for internet censorship, the Trudeau Liberals are set to plow ahead with the legislation. I am confident we can get this adopted. Added the minister, the Liberals will discuss the bill furthering during their convention, which costs a desk thumping $400 to attend as an observer, because they're all about the people. Except the people who can't afford to be there, then we don't care about your position. But we'll pay you lip service. Fortunately, though, I've been railing a lot against the Liberals for very good reason. And I've also been giving a fair amount of shit to the electorate because they've been fairly stupid in wanting to continue to elect Trudeau. But we have an Ipsos poll that just came out, and it's really quite the white pill we've all been looking for. Over 50% of Canadians want Trudeau gone. Yay! We can at least end on a good note today. Only 44% of Canadians feel strongly enough that the Prime Minister has done a good job and deserves re-election. That's good, okay? I have my problems with the opposition, especially the NDP and the Conservative government, the Conservative Party of Canada. This sucks a massive Volkswagen bus full of dicks. Are they better than Trudeau? Simply by default, of course they are upon this, because like we've seen there, unrest is growing across the country, okay? And Trudeau has done such a fucking terrible job, even for all of the highly scared, low information people out there that think that the coof is coming to fucking knock on your front door, and if you open it up just a crack, it's going to come in and kill you and everybody you love. And the precious vaccine that's coming. Talked about it since the beginning. He only ordered, 250,000 at the end of the year? He's supposed to be getting more at the population. Okay? They're going by percentile. Look where Canada ranks, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope, nope, nope. The first major country on there, you could argue Chile, but the United Kingdom, just about 30% at the end of the day here. Well, congratulations, 30% for the United States as well. That's a hell of a lot of people. That's a good job. Yeah, Monaco, Qatar, no, Canada. Canada's right there. Ooh, 11%, 47th. Huh. 47th, right? Well, at least they hopped up from 49 not that long ago, as of yesterday. And that is all due to the fact that Trudeau can plan his way out of a party tent. He's a horrific leader. I cannot think of one good thing that he has done. I'm sure that probably complimented him on something, but his policies are disastrous. His conduct is unethical, even for a Canadian politician. They would be dead on arrival. But the golden boy, hey, he gets to do whatever the fuck he wants, right? Back to the final story. In another sign of trouble for the Trudeau government, a fresh poll has suggested that well over 50% of Canadians believe that the country needs a new government. This poll, conducted by Ipsos, shows that 56% of those surveyed think that it is time for a new party to take over the government. Well, it's only been since, 2014, I think he won the election. 2015, everything was starting to get finalized. So it's either been 6 or 7 years that Trudeau's been in place. Yeah, it's about that fucking time. It's about that time. And, realistically, he's done nothing other than initially running on pot, all about pot. And then the second time around, he got to run against Andrew Scheer, who turned out to be as corrupt as everybody kind of anticipated he was. And now he's going to have to run against O'Toole. And God. But he's surging in the polls in Ontario, and that's a good thing because that's where all the seats are. Like, okay, all the money's made out west, all the people live out east. And thanks to socialist-style redistribution payments, Ontario and Quebec bear the fruits of all of our labor. Anyways, we'll wrap this up. 44% believe that Trudeau have done a good enough job to deserve re-election. I couldn't imagine how you justify that. The mental gymnastics must be off the charts and perhaps eligible for the 2022 Beijing Olympics. And time for another party to take over the 56%. Only 44% of Canadians feel strongly enough to say the Prime Minister has done a good job and deserves re-election, obviously. This news follows campaign research. Earlier poll that showed Conservative surge in Ontario. It showed the Conservative Party leading in multiple regions like Eastern Ontario, Northern Ontario, and the Hamilton, Niagara areas. But what about the GTA? Yeah, that sucks. The CCP, or the CPC, whoops, the Freudian slip, is also on top in O'Toole's home region of Durham. Ugh. I remember when Stephen Harper was in charge of the Conservative Party and his home riding was in Calgary. Oh, that seems like a fucking lifetime ago away. Anyways, Trudeau's Liberals, on the other hand, are on top in Ottawa and Toronto. Who saw that coming? And that's where all the seats are, so sucks to suck. This will come as a welcome news to O'Toole's Conservatives, who have been recently suffering through a bundle of negative polling reports. The CC... Again, maybe we'll just go with that. Fuck it. CPC will be particularly pleased that they are gaining in Ontario, a province that is vital to the party's election strategy. Yes, and the last time the Conservatives were in party, they made massive gains in Ontario and Quebec, and the Bloc Québécois looked exceedingly weak this time, and also the last time that the Conservatives were in power. So it's tough. It's going to be an uphill battle. And I think that this will probably push off the snap election that Trudeau would have to call in order for there to be another one. Otherwise, it'll be a minority government, which is propped up by the NDP. Fucking Canadian politics is goofy as all hell. It would have to be pushed off, and we wouldn't have an election until 23, I think. Shakes out to be 4 years. But I'd imagine we're going to have something in the interim. And as long as he keeps locking down, and there is no talk whatsoever of letting up with restrictions, at least at the federal level, Kenny, with his plummeting support, is probably going to have to go ahead and rebound some way, one way or another. Mo in Saskatchewan, or that numbnuts in Manitoba, they're going to have to start doing something because people are losing faith. But Quebec, keep it up. Everybody loves going home by 8 o'clock in the evening and not leaving until 6 o'clock in the morning. Seems like a fucking winner of the strategy. I hope Quebec secedes from the Union, the Commonwealth, whatever, because I don't want to have to deal with them or pay for them anymore. The country would be much better off without them. Fuck them. Like I said, hey, it's a fucking good story, right? Liberals are slipping in the polls. The incompetent Conservatives might find a way to bumble themselves into power, which will overall be a better thing than the Liberal Party. I'm not too sure it'd be a good thing, but it's definitely better than what we have right now. And with that said, guys, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.